Hi, it's Donna here from Clever Crafting, and thank you for joining me today. So we are making this lovely blended background today. This is some of the paper that comes in this beautiful African Adventure kit, and we'll be using some of the stickers. So it's not a difficult card today, but a beautiful effect. So we're actually going to start with our sun background. So in this particular kit, we've also got some lovely circle stencils, and I'm starting with some squeeze lemonade to put in the center of my sun. You can see I'm going very, very fast. Actually, I just want to do a shout out to my friend Loretta. This is her design. So thanks, Loretta, for letting me do this video and a class on it. All right, so now we're going to remove our mask. I beg your pardon, our stencil. And I am now using fossilized amber. And I'm going to pop a mask over the circle that I have just done. So the mask you'll find is just a tiny bit smaller, like less than 1 millimeter probably, or 1 millimeter smaller than the actual stencil. So you should be able to see the yellow ring around the outside. The reason that we've done that is to make sure that when we're doing this type of thing, we actually don't have that white line around it. All right, so you can see that I've added the fossilized amber, and I really wanted that sky to be a little bit more orange than that. So I'm popping my mask back in place. One of the beautiful things about the Distress Oxides is that because they're opaque, you can actually put one color over another, which is exactly what I'm doing here. So in this case, I'm using a dried marigold, and I am just going over the top of this again. So you can use any orange color that you may have. Dye inks are clearly better than, say, a pigment ink because they're nicer for blending, but you know, whatever you have, I'm sure is going to work. Now I'm just going to pop my stencil back in place. I'm going back to my fossilized amber because what I would like to do is just make a little bit of a cornea around the outside of the sun. So I'm doing that with the fossilized amber, which is a darker yellow, of course, and it just makes it so it's not quite so stark. Definitely stark if I was doing a moon, but with the sun you don't want it. So you can see that adds just a little bit extra to it. So now these are the pieces of paper from the kit, and they're just 2 strips. They're 2.5 centimeter strips, and I've actually left them the full 15.2 centimeters wide for this moment. And I'm just using some gathered twigs to go around the outside. You can use any color you like. I just happen to have the gathered twigs on my desk, but any brown color is good. So now that I've done that so I don't see the white on the edges, I'm just going to pop some of our glue on the back of these strips and stick them into place. So I'm doing the bottom one here. Because this was off a pattern piece of paper, I made sure that they were the right way, but realistically on this one it doesn't matter. You could use scraps. Anything that you have, once again, will work for this technique. So I'm just going to pop that in place, make sure it's nice and straight because, you know, it's got to be perfect. We all know that. And then I'm going to repeat the same with the top piece. Now, this is a standard card size base, so it's only 14.8 centimeters wide, which is the A6 size. So my paper is a little bit wider, so I'm just going to snip that off at the end. What I also did is I got my blending brush and just did those 2 little pieces where I snipped off. I should have probably done that afterwards anyway. All right, so now we're going to grab some of our stickers. So I wanted to talk about the stickers that we've got in the kit. The stickers, you can see a lot of them, not all of them, have got the animals facing each way. So this is because quite often, you know, I find that I've got a bit of ephemera and I want it to face the other way. So we've got the double ups and opposite directions in here. So the animal stickers are actually on a craft sticker base, so they're beautiful and a lovely color for these cards. And our baobab trees are on clear, so we won't see the background. The other thing that we've got about our stickers is that they've got that edge all around the outside of them. So that yellow edge is to make it easier for you to actually remove the sticker. That's actually the backing of the sticker that you see sticking out on the around the outside of our giraffe. And I've just folded that backing paper back a little bit to position it, to make sure that it's sitting where I want it to. Now I've put the small tree at the back because that adds depth, because it looks like it's further away. So it gives us a little bit of, you know, fake dimension to our card, which is a really good look. Well, I think it's a good look in any case. So I am using that strip of paper to ground these things to make sure they're actually on something, so they're not just floating around in the sky. You can see I'm doing the same thing with the clear stickers, just folding back a small piece and sticking them down at the bottom. Make sure that I'm happy with the positioning. And once I've done all of that, then what I will do is remove the backing paper. So there, here I am just slipping off the backing paper. So we've actually done this already as a class within our group. We do have online classes, and you will find some other examples of these on our Facebook group page. I will actually have a link for that below in the description. All right, I'm just grabbing a very fine point pen. This is actually a 0.1. You could go up to, say, a 0.3 or a 0.4, but I actually like my 0.1 black pen, and I'm going to be very creative here, and I'm going to draw some birds. Just the bird wings that we used to do as kids. Great look in the background and just going across in front of the sun there. So that's a really nice look and just adds that little bit of, je ne sais quoi to our card. The final part for the decorating of our card is a greeting. Now, honestly, I had to cut about 3 minutes out of this video because it took me so long just to pick the greeting. So once again, these came in our kit. These are also on craft sticky sheets, and you can just pop these on, pull them off and pop them on. So I think this one is I hope your birthday is wild, which is really good for this particular card. This card is perfect for boys as well as girls, so there's not too many of those around. You generally make them very gender specific, but these ones are not. And we are just going to now glue that lovely matte layer that we have created onto our card front. So I've left this in so I can show you, because this matte piece I have not cut down to make a border, which I often do on my cards. So you could do the same thing. You could cut down and make it a bit of a border, but as I said, I've chosen not to. And what I'm doing is, can you see how I'm standing the card up to make sure that it's lined up, because it's the exact size as the card front. So no border on this one, and it is all, of course, beautifully lined up when you do it that way. Okay, so just to add a little bit extra to my card, I'm stamping inside. Now, I've left some of this in here too. It does look like I'm pressing really hard, but I'm not putting too much pressure on it, but I do like to leave it there for a second for the ink to cross over. Now, I am just moving my stamp up a little bit more, and I'm overlapping it. You can see that there. And then I'm going to close my stamping platform lid over on top of it, and then magically added some ink to it. And you can see that just by overlapping those trees a little bit, which would be perfectly normal in nature, I've now extended the length of that stamp, and it's giving me that lovely border across the bottom of the inside of my card. I can't just leave it at that though, so I'm making my envelope to match. I'm using the same stamp again. I'm using gathered twigs for all of this because it really helps make it very cohesive. Stamping that just on the flap on the back of my envelope. I buy my envelopes from Officeworks. I buy them in a box of 500, so they're nothing special, and they're a great economical way of having my envelopes. I'm just going to use some more of that gathered twigs around the outside edge, blending around that just so it's not so stark. And here's our finished product. So it's a beautiful card. As I said, it's very good for either boys or girls, for young and old. They're terrific cards to make. So I've got a couple of close-ups here for you with the envelopes, and I think we're going to show you the inside as well. And then another card that I made actually using the rhino. I think he's cute, but then I didn't have a rhino stamp, so I've used elephants in there instead, so, and some scrap paper. So lots of things you can do. So don't forget to give us a like if you enjoyed yourself today, and until next time, stay safe and happy crafting.